Today.
How are you?
Awesome. I'm good.
Good to
And
see.
thank you for your time.
No
Uh-oh.
worries. I'm just putting my
Sorry?
headset in.
Yes, yes,
I'm
no
just put,
problem. Okay, let me pull up the questions for you. Should have put them. You can hear me, right? Clearly?
yeah,
Okay, you're recording this, so can you send this to me?
yeah, of course.
Okay, thank you, because I was trying to figure out how to get it done. Okay,
No
so
worries.
we'll just start with the questions. You could
Yeah,
probably introduce yourself. What's your name? And
yeah. So my name's Donald Sweeting. I'm a personal trainer, online coach, and nutritionist from the UK.
yes. Okay, so the assignment is based on the nutrition needs and changes in males between the ages of 20 to 50. So
Yeah.
I have a few questions for you. We're going to start. What is the most common nutritional mistakes men make in their 20s and 50s, during their 20s or 50s?
Okay. So when I'm working with the majority of the men that I work with are obviously trying to optimize health as well as build muscle and longevity. And the three most common mistakes I see them making, number one is not eating enough protein. So
Okay.
the recommendations for just health is 0.8 grams per kilo of body weight. If you are adding resistance training and wanting to change body composition, that actually jumps up to 2 grams per kilo of body weight, which, say, if you're average 80-kilo male, it's going to be about 160 grams a day. Whereas I find when people then start tracking their food, they tend to average between like 50 and 60, which is even below that 0.8 grams per kilo of body weight. The second nutritional mistake I see them making is overeating on highly processed and calorie dense foods. So it's convenience foods. So because most men between the age of 20 and 50, they're working full time, they might have a family, they've got lots of things on the go. They tend to make food decisions when they're already hungry, and therefore they'll tend to gravitate towards calorie dense foods rather than nutrient dense foods. So I tend to fix that by getting them to focus on an 80-20 split. So single ingredient, nutrient dense foods 80% of the time and have fun with that 20%. And then the third thing I'd say is it's going to be hydration. So they're
Mhm.
not drinking enough water. So again, normally I'd recommend for somebody to start drinking between like 1 to 2 liters of just water per day. That's nothing caffeinated, but adding those extra fluids in because that's going to help with digestion as well as health.
Okay. Um, how does the nutritional needs change during this age range?
So they don't tend to change, as in, I think your metabolism will tend to slow down a little bit. So when
Okay.
you're in your early 20s, you can get away with a lot more. You'll often see
Yes.
men, especially in their early 20s, they can kind of eat what they want and they won't put on excessive amounts of adipose tissue. Whereas the further down the line you go, the less sort of like wiggle room you've got in terms of you've got to be more strategic in terms of the foods that you're eating and start to change that mentality of food being fuel. So thinking about what you've got to do for the rest of your day. So if you are training during that day, okay, how do I make sure I fuel that workout properly rather than just grabbing food kind of like as and when you can.
Got you. Um, how can men maintain a healthy diet while managing a busy life or work schedule?
So the key thing is planning. So as I mentioned before, if you're reaching for food when you're already hungry, like you're going to be making poor decisions. So making sure that you have an idea of the number of calories you need to be eating throughout the day. As I mentioned before, the amount of protein you need to be taking in. So there's a really simple tool that I uses an equation. I can ping across a copy of that spreadsheet to you as well. Basically, you put in your height, weight, and body fat percentage. It does all the maths for you and tell you need to eat this many grams of carbs, fats, and protein. So the first thing is have an idea of where the ideal macros breakdown would be. And then it's just simply just tracking what you're eating at the moment. So the big mistake I see a lot of men make is they try and overhaul their diet all in one go, and they start eating loads of foods they don't normally eat. Whereas if you've got kind of a target that you're working towards, and then you can track where your food is now, you can start making small changes to individual meals. So it could be something as simple as, right, I'm not getting enough protein at a breakfast. How am I going to address that one first? And then I might find I'm having too much fat in my evening meal. Right, is there any foods in there that I could swap out? So maybe rather than having like beef or pork in my evening meal, I'm going to swap that out for chicken or fish to bring that fat content down, and just making sure I'm making small changes across my diet so that I'm not flip-flopping between being like on a plan and then how I would normally eat.
Okay. Yes, which nutrients help reduce the risk of cardiovascular disease and high blood pressure?
So nutrients-wise, in terms of minimizing your risk of cardiovascular disease, you want to be focusing on making sure you get enough fiber in your diet, as well as I mentioned before, a high protein diet, because those are both shown with, high fiber, high protein, calorie controlled diet. So the number one risk when it comes to cardiovascular disease is excessive amounts of adipose tissue. So there was a study where I think it was a nutrition professor in, can't remember whereabouts in America, but he ran a calorie deficit, but ate Twinkies and ice cream, but made sure his calories were in the right place. And at the end of 16 weeks, he'd lost a lot of weight and his health markers were actually in a much better place. So it's that mixture of making sure that you're sticking to a diet that you can keep to for the long term. The most important thing is to bring down those levels of adipose tissue. Now, as I said before, that 80-20 split, so focusing on 80% single ingredient whole foods that you prepare yourself. And that means you can have some flexibility with the 20%, which means that you're just much more likely to stick to it over a long period of time.
Okay. At what age bracket should men focus on prostate cancer and getting exams? And what causes, what are factors and risks that you should try to avoid?
To be honest, I think, is it 30 plus to recommend now? It's one of those things, though, that is becoming more and more common in younger men because of our poor diets and because of the hyper processed foods that we're eating. So the advice that they'd give out 10, 15 years ago when you get a prostate exam when you're in your 40s and 50s, it's probably going to be a lot earlier. So the sooner you can make those dietary changes to be including more of that high fiber, nutrient dense food, the less of a risk you're going to have. But ultimately, probably you're going to have to start a lot earlier than, say, our grandparents' generation would.
Okay. How does alcohol, smoking, or stress affects the absorption of nutrients?
So alcohol is what I would call like empty calories. So when you drink alcohol, it's basically pure sugar that has to be sent to your liver to be broken down because we can't use it as energy. So the easiest way to think about it is that's your liver has over 600 functions. But its number one function is to clear toxins. So if you're putting toxins into your body, your liver's now having to not prioritize 559 other functions to focus on that. I need to get this literal poison out of my system. Smoking, again, very similar. That's all to do with kind of like dropping your blood pressure. So your blood pressure is going to drop. Your ability to absorb oxygen is going to be a lot less, which means then you're not going to kind of use your cardiovascular system as effectively. So even if you are exercising, you're probably not going to be doing it as efficiently as possible. And what was the other one? So smoking, drinking, and
stress. Sorry, stress.
Stress. So
Yes.
stress is probably the number one enemy when it comes to fat loss.
Okay.
High levels of cortisol, chronic levels of cortisol, have been shown to really, really affect, especially obviously called not subcutaneous fat. It's the fat that basically packs around your organs, and that's the
Yes.
most dangerous kind because it's very, very hormonally active. If you see these guys that are like flat up here and then a big beer belly, because it's
Yes.
all packed inside and in between the organs, the likelihood of them having cancers and all kinds of metabolic issues because that fat's in there and it's basically releasing hormones into it. So yeah, cortisol, managing stress, managing sleep, managing recovery are all really, really important. They're probably just as bad for you as smoking or drinking. So very, very important.
Okay. So would you say that cortisol is testosterone destroyer? It
Yeah.
decreases your levels or your hormonal balance?
Oh, 100%. So
Uh-huh.
number one thing, having excessive amounts of body fat is going to bring your testosterone level down because body
Okay.
fat releases a hormone that mimics estrogen. Therefore,
Uh-huh.
if you have high levels of body fat, your estrogen levels or your estrogen mimicking levels are going to be much, much higher. So your
Yes.
body's natural ability to produce testosterone is then going to be lower. Insulin sensitivity is going to be lower. And again, cortisol, stress, all of those suppress your body's natural ability to make testosterone.
Okay. So you would agree that testosterone is obviously important to the male
Oh, yeah.
and his
So
function. Okay.
it's becoming,
Go ahead. At what age do you think that testosterone starts to decline?
it depends. There's a
Uh-huh.
lot of lifestyle factors in there. The only way to 100% know would be to get your blood work done. So
Okay.
get your blood work done in your 20s
Okay.
when your testosterone is probably going to be high, and then
Uh-huh.
getting it done every 5 years, or if you start feeling the symptoms of low testosterone. So I
Yes.
don't know what it's like in the Bahamas, but in the UK, because we've got a public health service, they will only do something when your testosterone drops below, I think, 6 or 7 nanomoles per liter or whatever it is. But if somebody's testosterone is that low, they are going to be feeling the side effects of it. And then the NHS will only provide TRT, which is testosterone replacement therapy, to bring their levels up to that 7. And 7 is like the minimum that it should be. It might,
Okay.
again, it might be different over there, but TRT is becoming really, really popular because men are living longer, higher stress, their natural ability to make testosterone is being impacted. Some of the best things you can do to preserve your natural testosterone is eat a healthy, well-balanced diet, plenty of healthy fats in there, including omega-3s, and resistance training. So training with weights, keeping that body fat below a certain percentage and staying active.
Okay. Testosterone. I'm sorry, there's someone passing. So would you think, would you agree that testosterone, the levels, is it hereditary? Is it a nutritional factor or deficiency? What aids in testosterone levels to drop in men?
There's gonna be a genetic factor. So if low testosterone runs in your family, you're more likely to have it. However, I think the problems we're seeing in testosterone levels across the Western world is more of a lifestyle factor. So high stress, not enough physical activity, being
Okay.
sedentary mostly throughout the day, they're all going to have a massive effect on your body's natural ability to produce those hormones.
Okay. So how should men adjust their diet as metabolism slows with age?
Probably similar to what I was saying before in terms of getting enough protein in, make sure they get enough fiber and micronutrients. What's probably going to happen is as you age, you're not going to require as much in terms of calories because after the age of 25, unless you are regularly resistance training, sorry, I think it's the age of 35, your body is naturally going to want to drop 1% muscle and replace that with 1% body fat. If you resistance train, you can offset that, but you're never going to stop that process. So as you get older, you'll find you don't need as much energy just to be able to kind of live and survive because your natural muscle levels are coming down. So again, eat a 80-20 well-balanced diet, plenty of protein, plenty of healthy fats in there to help with those hormonal changes. I think you've muted yourself.
Yes, can you hear me?
Yeah, can hear you.
Okay, so we spoke about diet. We know that diet is basically what you consume. How important is exercise? I see you're on the treadmill here. How important is that? And especially as a male begins to age.
So the number one thing is resistance training, the training with weights. So as I said before, from the age of 35, your body wants to start losing muscle and putting on body fat. Resistance training it won't completely halt it, but it will massively slow down that process. So if you resistance trained in your teens, 20s, and have more than the average amount of muscle mass, you've got a lot further for that to come down before you end up in need of assistance, essentially. You can't get up and down out of a chair, etc. So the number one thing is resistance training, some light cardiovascular training to keep your heart and your circulation healthy. So that could involve just setting yourself a step target throughout the day. Like the normal one is about 10,000 steps a day. If you're doing 10,000 steps a day, you probably don't need that much formal cardio unless you are. So I'm on the treadmill because I'm in a bodybuilding prep at the moment. So obviously I'm trying to drive my body fat levels down as low as I can. But for the average person, unless they are trying to drive a calorie deficit or they enjoy cardio, so doing like a little bit of HIIT or maybe doing some classes, just something that's going to get your heart rate up and cause your cardiovascular system a little bit of stress. So it keeps your heart, your lungs, and your circulation healthy.
Okay. Are multivitamins necessary? What age bracket do we increase or decrease?
So are they necessary? No. Are they probably a good idea for most people? Probably. So with industrial farming techniques, if you again go back 50, 60, 70 years and picked an orange off a tree, the nutrient density of that fruit would be 2 or 3 times greater than it is now because of essentially industrial farming, artificial fertilizers, and most people don't eat enough fruit and veg. So I think the recommendations was like 5, but that's just been up to like 7 or 8. So is it a good idea? Again, it depends. So for me personally, I take a multivitamin, I take a greens powder, but I also make sure that I'm getting a variety of fruit and veg in my diet as well, because I want to cover the bases so I'm not ending up nutrient deficient, but I also want to be trying to get as much because the bioavailability of nutrients and vitamins from a kill is not the same as getting it from actual food. Our body is designed to absorb those nutrients from food. So if you take a multivitamin, you're probably going to be weeing out anywhere from 30 to 70% of it. Whereas if you're getting that from actual food, you're probably going to absorb a lot more of it. And then taking that fiber, that for those prebiotics and stuff as well, you're going to help feed your gut bacteria.
Okay. What are the best dietary strategies for building lean muscle while losing fat?
So exactly what I was saying before, managing a small calorie deficit. So
Okay.
you'd figure out your BMR, your basal metabolic rate, multiply that by your activity level. That's going to give you like a total daily energy expenditure. You then want to drop 500 to 600 calories off that. So you're aiming for a 500 to 600 calorie per day deficit, which is going to average then about 3,500 calories a week, which is about a pound. So you're looking to drop anywhere from 1 to 2 pounds per week through your deficit. Now, the main considerations for that, what I will tend to advise people is have a protein floor. So 2 grams of protein per kilo of body weight, and then your calories ceiling. Then track your food as you eat it now. See if you tend to prefer more carbs or more fats. As long as you're staying under those calories and above that protein, the makeup of the other macronutrients isn't as important unless you're interested. So it's
Okay.
like, what I'll advise you, it's like a pyramid. So the baseline is the calorie deficit. Then after that, it's the protein. Then after that, it's the other macronutrients. So it's how far up that pyramid you want to go in terms of your understanding. At the end of the day, if you create a calorie deficit, you're going to start losing body fat. If you want to build muscle, you've got to make sure you get enough protein, and then everything else stacks on top of that.
Okay. What signs should men look for to indicate that a nutrient deficiency?
So that's a little bit outside of my remit, just
Okay.
because it's such a wide, there's so many different vitamins, minerals, things like that. The best thing that you could do is go to your doctor and get your
Okay.
blood work done, because as well, they'll then be able to tell you specifically, because some of the symptoms could be 3 different nutrients that you're deficient in and you don't know which one it
Yes.
is. Whereas if you go and get your blood work done, you can then get a personalized supplement sort of plan put together
Yes.
for the areas that your diet's struggling with. Or you could know, okay, I need to be eating more of XYZ food that has that nutrient in it. And it just means you can be very precise with the changes you need to make.
Okay. What roles does calcium and vitamin D play in aging in terms of bone health in men?
So it's a lot more common in women than it is in men, things like
Okay.
osteoporosis, osteoarthritis. So
Okay.
men tend to hold more muscle mass, which means we'll generate more force. So our bones tend to stay a little bit stronger just
Okay.
from our everyday lives. However, making sure if you don't have enough calcium, so calcium is responsible for obviously the mineralization of bones, but it's also responsible for muscle contraction. So if you're not getting enough calcium in your diet, but you're exercising regularly, your body is going to go and start leaching that calcium out of your bones to fuel the muscle contractions.
Okay.
In terms of vitamin D, it depends on the color of your skin. So obviously, the darker your skin is, the more sun exposure per day you would need for your body to make that vitamin D, and also where you live in the world, so different latitudes. So I live in the UK, so from September through to March, even if you were very, very fair skinned, the sun, because of the angle of the earth, the sun isn't actually strong enough for it to cause you to make vitamin D in your body. Whereas if you live closer to the equator in the Caribbean, the sun, even in the winter, is probably going to be strong enough to cause that change. So in Europe, a lot of people suffer from something called SAD, which is seasonal affective disorder, which is basically a vitamin D deficiency. Normally kicks in around Christmas because they've not been able to make any vitamin D from September, and it takes a little while for it to kind of like kick in. So
Okay.
yeah, if you live in the northern hemisphere, kind of like Europe sort of area, around October, you probably want to start supplementing vitamin D or getting on sunbeds if that's your thing. That's not my thing personally. So I just take a vitamin D supplement from sort of October time through to about March. And then in March, just making sure you're getting outside and getting some sunshine on your skin so your body will then make that vitamin D.
Okay. What's your opinion on plant-based diets and how
Plant-based
does
diet.
that how does one keep their health in tip-top shape in
So
males?
plant-based diets have become really, really popular recently.
Mhm.
It's one of those things, it's not something that I practice personally,
Okay.
but that's because I'm a bodybuilder. So I
Yes.
think for me to get enough protein in from a fully plant-based diet, it'd be really difficult. It's not impossible. There's some very, very good vegan bodybuilders out there. But I think, what was it, about 10 years ago, it became very, very popular because of a documentary on Netflix, which made some really, really outlandish claims. Now, could most people benefit from eating more plants? Yes, 100%. Do they need to go on a 100% plant-based diet in order to do that? No. So the main things to watch out for if you're going on a fully plant-based diet is, number one, are you doing your research? Are you making sure that you're getting enough of those vitamins and minerals that you might normally get from red meat, things like B vitamins, iron levels, all that kind of stuff? Are you eating a wide variety of plants? So I've known a number of vegetarians and vegans that I'll just call them lazy vegans. So they
Mhm.
haven't done the research on how they're going to get their protein intake in. They just cut meat and animal products out of their diet, but they don't make sure that they're getting their proteins from beans, pulses, lentils, from hemp-based protein sources, rice-based protein sources. They're just eating a little bit of salad, cookies, donuts, basically stuff that is just purely refined carbohydrates, and they're not making sure that they're actually eating a healthy diet that's covering all those bases. So it's one of those things where could men between the age of 20 and 40 benefit from eating a little bit less red meat and eating a few more plants? Absolutely. Do they need to go on a completely plant-based diet in order to do that? I'd say no, but that's a personal decision for them. Maybe they want to go fully plant-based to try it out, to force themselves to do the research and find those things that they enjoy, and then they can slowly start adding bits in, whether it's like eggs and fish and that kind of stuff, to slowly reintroduce that so they've got kind of that structure, but then they get the extra protein from the meat-based sources.
Okay, got you. And as we close out, what is a piece of advice of nutrition, of course, you wish more men followed?
I think it's probably just track your food. Like,
Okay.
if you want to make improvements, you need to know where you're starting. So just simply getting a notepad out, and every time you put something in your mouth, writing it down. With technology nowadays, there's barcode scanners. You type in food tracker on the App Store, there's 100 different versions of food trackers that make it so easy to be able to get a clear understanding of how much energy is actually going into your body. And the number one thing that I find people realize is that when they start to take accountability for what they're eating, they then start to find those calorie dense things that they just graze on, that they're not even hungry. It's because they're bored. So like biscuits and donuts, snacks. We're coming up to Christmas. Chocolate's going to start appearing everywhere. Those just little bits that you grab that you don't realize it's 50 or 60 calories here, 50 or 60 calories there. And when you total it all up, it's like, oh my God, there's an extra 800 calories just from bits that I'm picking at throughout the day. And then
Yes.
being very strategic in terms of, okay, so I'm going to cut back on that stuff so that it makes room for me to be able to eat meals that I enjoy. So do the research, find recipes. Again, with AI now, you just type into ChatGPT, give me 20 high protein recipes utilizing beef or chicken or whatever it is. It's going to create a very good stack of things for you to try. And don't be afraid to experiment. So try things. If you don't like it, don't make it again. Like, it's one of those things nobody ever, a lot of the time when you try those new things that maybe you've not tried before, you might find some things that you enjoy and actually are way more nutrient dense and actually taste way better than that ready meal that you've just stuck in the microwave and just tastes like salt.
Gotcha. So I want to thank you for your time. I
No
found
worries, dude.
the interview very interesting and I learned a lot, and I'm excited to share this with my class.
Amazing, man. So yeah, if you need any help in the future, obviously just give me, did I send you across my social media stuff?
Yes.
Yeah, perfect. Yeah. So what I'll do, I'll probably upload this to my cloud just
Okay.
because it'll keep the quality quite good. And then I'll
Yes.
send a link. And if you download it directly from the Google Drive, it should keep the quality
Yes.
of the video.
Okay, thank you so much.
No worries, dude. Right. 45 minutes. Okay. Right. That's me done on my cardio. But yeah, thanks for your time, Dan. I will, well, hopefully the assignment goes all right.
Oh, for my professor, the key was to interview a Bahamian nutritionist. You are of Bahamian descent, correct?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, I was born in
Just for his
Nassau. So,
clarification.
yes. Yeah. So I was
Okay.
born in Nassau. I've lived in the UK since I was quite young. So I'm educated in the UK, but I was born in Nassau.
Yes, sir. Okay, thank you
No
so
worries,
much.
dude. All right. Have a nice day.